All right, welcome back to the Gamble Smart channel. Mark here. Hope you guys are doing well. I thought today we would do something a little bit different, and I'm going to read some comments that you guys left on the how slot machines work video. There was a lot of good questions that came in and feel like they deserve some answers, so we figured we'd do that today. So let's jump into it now. All right, as always, if you are new here, we certainly want to welcome you to the Gamble Smart channel. We are here to educate you about how all this stuff works. So if you are a gambler and you're wanting to improve your game inside of the casino, we are here to help. So a subscription will be nice, thumbs up on this video, as well as click that bell for notifications because we do go live in the casino from time to time. We want you to join in on the fun. All right, let's get into the questions today, and let's bring up the first one, and this one is from SkewTube. It says, nice video. What's going on with the games that appear to show a bonus chance of hitting? And by that, it means, say, the 3 piles of gems for 3 types of bonuses. Does that maxed out pile size actually mean anything? On most games, absolutely not, okay? And you can look in the game rules for most of these to see that. It'll say that it's just an illusion, gives you no indication of what's coming up. So the pots, like on Dancing Drums, the firecracker game with the firecrackers, the pigs getting big and large and stuff like that, it is all an illusion. It gives you no indication that it's about to hit. So be very careful with playing those games. They are not an advantage play. Just because you see the firecrackers all the way at the top doesn't mean that it's due anytime soon. It can stay there for a very, very long time. And if you've ever played that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, those are an illusion. I'm not really okay with this. I wish manufacturers wouldn't build this in because a lot of people are confused. That's the question here. We do get this question a lot. A lot of people feel like they should keep playing because it looks like it's close. So please don't fall for that. Stay within your budget. Play a certain number of spins. Play down to a certain amount, that kind of thing. Just try to ignore the big pots, the big pigs, and stuff like that. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So thanks for your question. All right, and Dice Grinders ask, who dictates what percentage the machines are programmed to? Very good question. So the way it works is that when the slot machines are manufactured at various companies like IGT, SG Interactive, Light & Wonder, whatever the case is, Ainsworth, whenever they're built there, they are providing the casino with about 3 to 10 different payback percentage options, and it largely depends on the jurisdiction that the actual slot machine is going to. Okay, so it could be anywhere from 83% on the low up to 98% on the high. So the only thing that the casinos can do is pick which payback percentage they want that machine to be at. And here's a little clue as to what they actually do. So in most casinos, 9 out of 10 of them, maybe even bigger than that, they typically pick the payback percentage based on the denomination, regardless of where the machine is. High limit room, next to the hallway, next to the buffet, whatever, it doesn't matter. What they do is they take the percentage, let's say the penny machines, and those are usually almost always set at the low end. So 85, 88%, something like that, depends on the casino and area. But then the higher machines, like the $100 machines, the $25 machines, those are going to be set closer to the 96, 98%, okay? And they do that casino-wide, okay? They make it very simple. So you've probably heard the myth before that if there's a bank of 3 or 4 machines, they might make the one on the end a higher payback percentage. They don't do that, okay? They just stick basically to the denomination itself and make it consistent floor-wide. So very good question, and that's how that process works. All right, SimMaster00 says, honestly, you could go deeper into the math. Yes, I could, but I'd probably bore a lot of you. Math is not a subject most people like, but there is some deeper math, especially when it comes to probabilities and outcomes and law of large numbers and things like that. But simply put, the way that these machines work is they are just mathematical programs, okay? There's an RNG picking from a certain set of symbols, and over a long period of time of that mathematical program running, it'll reach a certain payback percentage, okay? That's it. There is no fancy algorithm. There's no critical AI thinking or anything like this where it's manipulating the gameplay based on who's playing or how much money has been won or lost or anything. None of that stuff is happening in these things. It's a very simple math program. So if you guys want a more advanced math look into this stuff, I'll do it. It's not going to be a popular video, but hey, if you math nerds out there want it, we'll certainly do it. So put it in the comments below. Very good question. Or comment, actually. All right, no Pitbull left behind. He has a long one here. I'm just going to read the first sentence because that's really what the question is. Is it true that casinos have a daily and weekly amount that they are supposed to pay out to meet regulations? The answer is no, okay? So a lot of people have said this before where the casinos have to make sure that the slot machines are within a certain range or else they'll get trouble. They'll get fined or whatever the case is. They'll lose their license if it's not paying out correctly. That's not what's going on, okay? The only thing that regulators are concerned with is tampering of the machines. And this is why the Gaming Commission is very heavily involved with any game level controls being changed on these machines, such as the payback percentage or the bet amounts, the denomination, the game style or type. Gaming Commission has to be fully aware of those changes, and they have to come out to unseal the machine anyway. So because of that, it's very much understood, okay? Because whenever the manufacturer builds the game designers build the game, they ensure, and it's audited by a third-party auditor, that those results come out 90% of the time, and the results meaning the payback percentage, okay? So they have to prove to these auditors and to the Gaming Commission that these machines will pay out like they're supposed to over a long period of time, and that's it. That's the only thing regulators are concerned with, and that there's no tampering going on after the fact, okay? So when it comes to revenue goals and, you know, casinos altering the odds because they've been paying out too much, or they need to, you know, decrease the odds to the player because they need to make more money, all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't happen, okay? That's not what's going on inside of the casino. I know a lot of people feel that way, but that's certainly not what's going on. But very good question, and I hope that clears it up for you. All right, next one. All right, Rocketman1005 says, not sure if he mentioned that many results are mapped to the space next to the big bonus symbol. It psychologically looks like you just missed it, which would only have been true on original all-mechanical machines. He is absolutely correct, 100%. And this is actually called clustering. And this happens on older games, and it happens on newer games too. But if you've played slots long enough, you have probably seen this. Okay, double top dollar is good for this, where the double top dollar symbol just keeps falling above and below the line. Okay, you keep seeing that more often than everything else. And what they're doing is basically the RNG has decided that it's going to be a blank anyway, okay? That third reel needs to be a blank. But what they've done is on the virtual reel table, they've made the blank that appears above and below the bonus symbol way more frequent than the blanks that appear anywhere else on that reel. And that gives you that psychological effect that you almost hit it. And so that's what's actually going on there. It is certainly a tactic. They're doing it to make you keep playing. You didn't almost hit it, but it sure does feel that way because the symbol is just off. I mean, how many times have you gotten 2 double diamonds and then the third one is just off the reel? It makes you feel like you almost got it, right? But you didn't. You were still very far off. So yeah, it is a psychological trick. It's called clustering, and you can find that on a lot of the par sheets, which are the documentation on how the slots work and how those virtual tables look. So, all right, Monk T3149 says, player tracking, i.e. players cards. Integration does affect play for some, but not all casinos. The big chains like Caesars, yes, no. I have worked at a high level where specific players' winnability can be adjusted. No. Physical, no, but it doesn't matter. But the full picture of integration at the highest levels, yes, your player card affects play good and bad. That's completely false. Players' cards cannot have any kind of control over the future outcomes of the machines, okay? Nothing can. For it to be legally defined as a slot machine and pass compliance and audit and everything, it cannot be impacted by anything external. Okay, that means that every single spin on a slot machine has to be true and fair for everyone playing. Doesn't matter if you're using player's card or not, or it's the time of day, or you're rubbing your belly when you push the button, or whatever the case is. It has to be the same for everybody when you push that button. Otherwise, that machine cannot appear on a casino floor. End of story, okay? So the myth that casinos can see who's playing and then adjust the odds to win or lose, completely false, guys. Just doesn't happen. All right, good comment though. And Mr. Plaza Player says, but it's possible to change the RNG via remote control or code of some sort. The answer is no. Let me describe how this process works. And we did do a video, and I'll put a little card here if you want to go watch that after this one. But basically, what the casinos are allowed to do is they can change the payback percentage, but there is a process they have to go through. And that process involves getting gaming, which is called, gaming commissions or gaming control, whatever you want to call it. They have to get them to come out and unseal the machine, which requires physical access to that machine. Now, they can push RNG, or not, they're not RNG, but payback percentages. They can push payback percentages to the machines remotely through a back-end system, but those cannot be accepted until gaming comes and unseals the machine and a special USB key is inserted into that machine and the change is accepted, and then the Gaming Commission reseals the machine. It's a very lengthy process. If you're interested how that works, again, that card will help you. But yeah, they can't just on a whim in the back room change the payback percentages. I'm sure they would all like to, but they're not allowed to do that because of gaming regulations, okay? I hope that clears that up. Next question. All right, Doc Roberts says, I hear all the time that person just played a ton of money and didn't win. I'm going to play it because it's ready to hit. Oh, how many times have you guys heard this? I've heard it many, many times, and I've felt it before. Before I learned how all this stuff works and became a slot technician, I believed this too, because people have told me that my entire life of gambling. But that is certainly not true. Again, like what we said earlier, each spin is completely separate and independent and true and fair than all previous spins. So it doesn't matter what has happened in the machine's past. It does not dictate what needs to happen in the future. So if you did put thousands of dollars through a machine, or you witnessed somebody else do it, doesn't mean that you need to come and pick up the pieces because it's going to start paying. That's not how slot machines work. And you can see the danger of believing that too, right? Because you'll start chasing things that aren't there to chase. And we got to caution you against that. That's not how slot machines work. They do not build up and then have to start changing their program. So, quick reminder, the way the programs work on a slot machine is they play exactly the same they do on day one that they do day 365. Exactly the same. Nothing changes from day to day. There's no sophisticated crap, weirdness going on, okay? Hope that helps. All right, and John says, Mark, anything special we should know before playing slots on a cruise ship? Thanks, John. All right, John. So really not much. The thing is that cruise ships are very much regulated just like land-based casinos. Okay, that is not different. It's not the Wild West. Just because they're out on open waters, they can just do whatever they want. They are still very much regulated. And all the cruise ships are regulated the same. But it is true that at least we've seen some screenshots and stuff like that have leaked out that the payback percentages are typically lower on cruise ships. Not all the time, but they can be. Our advice when you're playing on the cruise ship is the same advice we give to any casino that you're going to. Stick to your budget, limit your number of spins, and certainly don't stay, those days at sea, like, oh, we're at sea for 3 days. That should not translate to at the casino. There's a lot of other stuff to do on the ship, so try not to just stay a long time in the casino. Should you play on a casino, on a cruise ship casino? I say yes, because the comps can actually be pretty good. You can get some free cruises out of it, right? So if you're going to play, play a little bit. Maybe get a free or a discounted cruise on your next time you're going. Wouldn't hurt, right? But just stick to your budget. Do all the things that we talk about on this channel. You'll be fine. Thanks, John. All right, Debbie says, I go to a small casino, and now I need someone to explain why and how the whole casino is what I call dead. You can see no one is winning jackpots or big wins at all. And then I notice sometimes late at night the machines are hitting jackpots. If it's all random, how can this be happening? So this is another popular question or something that people have noticed. The first thing is you can't possibly see everybody's situation. You can't watch everybody's credit meter. Even if it's a small casino, that's a tough task, right, to be able to see all of that. But it is true that there could be cycles like that, but they're not intentional. Meaning that the programming is not purposely paying out jackpots at one time and not at another time, okay? That's not how slot machines work. Will there be hot and cold cycles? Yes, but that happens naturally through randomness. Just like you flipping a coin, you could end up with 5 heads in a row. That is a hot streak, and I'm using that in quotes because you haven't gotten tails yet, even though it's 50-50, right? So the same thing can happen with randomness in slot machines where you see these strings or patterns of hot and coldness, but it's not purposely doing that. Each spin could be different. And so just because you've witnessed this doesn't mean something nefarious is going on or somebody's controlling when jackpots are hit or not hit. Okay, that's the important thing. It's just part of randomness. It does happen from time to time. That's why a lot of times you go to the casino and you just have a terrible trip. You just can't get a bonus round. You can't get anything. This has happened to me many times. And then other trips you go and for whatever reason, you're hitting jackpots left and right. It's not because of anything that's changed in the casino. You're just hitting that button at the right moment and you just got lucky. That's all that's going on. But thank you for your comment, Debbie. I do appreciate it. All right, next up from an anonymous user. We all know how they work. They steal money, and that's exactly how they work. He's not wrong. I think steal is probably a strong word. But slot machines, listen, are designed to give the house an edge, okay, 100%. So no slot machine is ever going to be programmed over 100% payback percentage. It can't. They're all going to be lower than that. The only exceptions are video poker machines, and some can go around 101.8%. Very rare, but it happens. But slot machines, like the ones you see behind me, certainly do not go over 100%. So if you do play them long enough, you will lose. Okay, that's guaranteed. If you do play them long enough, you will lose. So they are designed to give a house edge, okay? And most games in the casino are, okay? Why would they put a game in a casino where the house edge is more or less than 0? They wouldn't do that, okay? Very select times will that ever happen. So slot machines are built to give them money over time. But what you need to look out for is banking those small wins, okay? So if you do get a win, or even big wins, but if you do get a win, instead of putting the money back into the machine, which is what is giving the house their edge, you take that money and you run and you do something else with it. That's where you turn that house edge in your favor, okay? But over the long run, the longer you play slot machines and the longer you keep putting that money back in after you get wins, you're gonna lose. That's how they work. That's how they work. Good question. All right, this is a big one, but I'm gonna put it up, and I wanted to do a shout out to Paranoid6797 for his replies, because he had very good replies. But I'm gonna read what K-Newbie says. Love the video, the RNG producing numbers I get. My question I'm finding hard to comprehend is, how can the machine successfully give the overtime payout percentage calculated if it's depending on random numbers? Very good question. I mean, I understand the theoretical probability is there, yes, but RNG cannot guarantee the probability payout percentages are met, correct? So this is how this works. We're going to go just a little bit deeper into this. So let's take an example of a high payback percentage machine. Okay, using the Double Diamond Deluxe that we did, and I'll put another card up here if you haven't seen a how slot machines work video. The Double Diamond Deluxe example that we put in there, if they needed to increase the payback percentage, what would happen is on the virtual real table, what the RNG is picking from, a lot of the lower paying symbols will be upgraded to higher paying symbols. So cherries would become single bars would become double bars, etc. And so that gives the RNG higher weighted symbols to pick from, right? So the double bars pays more than the cherry. So that is going to naturally increase the overall payback percentages of the machine. And the way that manufacturers build the games is that they essentially build these virtual tables, and then they run a simulation of 10 million pools. And they do this multiple times. And if they are 90% confident that those results, the way they've laid out those virtual tables, ends up in that payback percentage, then they are allowed to publish that game and send it off for audits and the Gaming Commission to review. If it doesn't, they have to make some tweaks, and they got to continue to do that until they are 90% confident it will fall within that range. So if they needed to lower the payback percentage, it's just the opposite of that. They'll take a cherry and turn it into a blank, or a single bar and they'll turn it into a cherry. And so that's how they can control the overall outcomes. And just to read what this guy said here, he said, it can be calculated. See expected value in probability theory. So that is exactly what's going on here. Basically, there's no guarantee that it is met. However, the higher the number of spins, the closer the payout will approach that expected return, okay? Using the flipping the coin example, will it ever completely equal 50%? Likely not. Even if you flipped it 10 billion times, it'll never truly be 50%, because there could be some odd events where it lands right on the, you know, on the edge of the coin, stuff like that. So it can never be truly 50%, but it will get very, very, very close. 49.99999 repeating, right? So it'll get very, very close. So slot machines are the same way. It's not exact, but it's within a certain range of variance that is approved by gaming that they are allowed to do, which is the whole 90% confidence thing, okay? And then the number of required spins for this to fulfill can be astronomically high, just like we talked about with flipping the coin. So here's the important thing, and I appreciate you saying this. So please don't keep chasing losses thinking you're more likely to win back with playing more. Well said, my friend. That is well said. That is perfect. I couldn't have said that better. So very smart. All right, next one. Jesse James 8439 says, do you think if you use a player's card, your wins are connected to your card? That is true. They are connected to your card in saying you won this, you lost this. Like if you won, you'll start losing no matter what machine you choose. Now that part is incorrect. No, that is not how players' cards work. Again, you got to remember that slot machines cannot be influenced by any outside source. That includes players tracking, casino management, nothing like that. So just because you've won something or you've been winning doesn't mean by using your card that they can change so that you can start losing. That's not possible. It would never pass compliance, and that's just not something that happens inside casinos. So use your card, feel comfortable using your card every single spin, separate outcome regardless of any outside influence. Good question. All right, Jenny Lim says, hey Mark, is there a better chance of hitting a jackpot if the stake is higher? I noticed a lot of jackpots were hit by bigger stakes. By the way, great video and very educational. So the reason that these big YouTubers and people that play heavy like that get a lot of jackpots is because they are betting closer to that $1,200 threshold, which is what the hand pay amount is, okay? So if you want to win a hand pay on a dollar machine, you have to get 1,200 credits. But if you want to get a hand pay on a $100 machine, you only have to get 12 credits, okay? So just by how math works, you're going to get a hand pay way more frequently if you're betting higher. That's just how it works, right? You're closer to that number. The other thing I do want to be cautious of, though, is that the payback percentages on the $100 machine are certainly going to be higher than the penny and the dollar machine, okay? But that's over a very long period of time, like we've talked about throughout this video. So it is definitely not worth you going outside of your comfort zone whenever it comes to betting. So don't play a $5 machine when you usually play dollars because you've heard that the payback percentage is higher on that $5 machine. That might be true, but you're not going to notice that in any individual session, and you could end up down a very dangerous path by doing so, okay? You could lose your money 5 times as fast as if you just would have stuck with the dollars. So always play with the level that you're comfortable with, and don't play a higher denomination because you think you have better chances at a jackpot because of that, okay? If that's outside of your comfort zone, don't do it, okay? That's always going to be our advice. But very good question. All right, Yorgala says, I call BS. I've been playing for way too long, and these things do either run hot or cold. Like on Dragon Link, if you get 6 high number orbs and the rest come out high number, also just got to be lucky or not play. Well, your second part is absolutely right. You got to be lucky or not play. But as for the machines running hot or cold, like we described earlier, it's just the way randomness works, okay? The machines do not purposely run hot or cold. I cannot stress this enough. That is not how they work. They are just naturally feeling that way sometimes. It's just randomness, okay? All right, good question. Let's go to the next one. Francis Burke, 3724, says, very interesting indeed, but I have a question. If the payback is 94% over the lifetime of a machine and is supposed to balance, how does the machine know how long it will be in service? So try to think of it this way. It's not that the machine has to end up at 10 million spins to balance itself. It's not like it has to look ahead and say, oh man, I need to catch up here because I'm way behind and I'm almost to that 10 million spin. That's not what's going on, okay? It's just the way the math will work out over a certain number of spins. So it plays exactly the same the entire life of the machine. So don't think of it as an active balance situation where it has to give some and then, lose some, give some, and then if it gives too much, it needs to change its programming to start taking more so that it ends up at that payback percentage when it gets to that 10 million spin. That's not what happens. It just happens naturally. It's just pure math, okay? So I hope that helps answer your question a little bit. All right, Lion King says, the one myth I heard, the higher denomination you bet, the higher odds you have of getting hits. So this is kind of like the one that we just had. Just please remember, guys, that you may get more frequent line hits the higher denomination you go up, but in the short term, it's not something you're ever going to be able to recognize, okay? And it's certainly, again, not worth betting more than your typical level of betting, okay? That is so critical for you to understand. We don't want you to fall into that, because once you start down that path of betting higher, you're gonna keep going until you're up at that $100 level, and then you might end up in some dangerous situations financially. You should always play with what you're comfortable at and enjoy that, and not think that you need to start betting more in order to win more, okay? That's the slippery slope that a lot of gamblers fall into, and we certainly don't want to see that happen to you. So, all right. Jimmy Scott says, I have played slots for 18 years online casino. I've experienced too many bad situations for me to believe that it's completely random. For example, you say the amount of money the slot taken doesn't matter. I have seen someone put a ton of cash in a machine. I go on and get 2 jackpots in a row of $500. The odds you mentioned at random just wouldn't happen. Yes, it would. Just like the flipping of the coin or picking out an ace of clubs out of a deck of cards. It's the same situation. Could you pick out an ace of clubs 3 times in a row for 3 jackpots in a row? Yes, you could. It's a 1 in 52 chance every single time you pull that card out. Is it probable? No, it's not probable, but it's possible. And that's exactly how slot machines work too. Just because you've seen situations like that before, and this is confirmation bias at work. And if you're interested in learning more about what that is, we'll put another card up here for reference, but confirmation bias is a big thing in the casino. We see something and we associate that with something else that we believe is happening, okay? So in his situation, he saw somebody put a bunch of money into the machine, and then he went up to the machine and got, some jackpots out of it. that's because that person put a bunch of money into the machine and it was due, right? I can see that logical train, and that's what a lot of us feel is actually occurring. This happened, and then I got this, so that must be what occurred. And that is not what actually happened. You just got lucky. It was just a random event, and you got lucky at that certain time. It is not the casino manipulating anything or the slot machines changing its programming along the way. So it's very important to remember that, because you could fall into a bad situation with this level of thinking that, you know, whatever has happened previously is going to change the outcome. I think you guys can see where that could lead down some very dangerous decisions. I mean, we just don't want you to do that, because that's not what's going on. All right, let's go to the next one. W. Knox Z says, how build your bankroll in a negative EV game makes no sense. So what he's talking about is it's impossible to build a bankroll in a game where you just can't get over 100%, right? And he's right. And like we said before, slot machines are not, over the long run, slot machines are going to take your money, okay? They're designed that way. They have house edges, anywhere from 2% up to 25% in some severe situations. So the house edge is strong on slot machines, much stronger than you find on any table game or video poker or anything like that. That's just the way they're built. But you can have a positive outcome if you decide to quit playing when it's the right time for you to quit playing. But we mostly don't do that. We get wins and we keep playing. We keep putting the money back in, trying for bigger wins and even bigger wins, chasing that big life-changing jackpot, right? That's the problem. That is why we leave broke most of the time from a casino trip, is because we are not stopping. We are not banking those wins. You know, our recommendation is that you should really pay attention to any win that you get over the amount of your wager. And maybe you should start putting that money inside of a safe or a cash box or something. Give it to your friend, your spouse. Start banking those wins, and I think you will figure out in the long run you're going to end up with more money out of the casino if you do that. But most of us just don't do that. We just keep spinning, right? That's how the casino is making the money, because we don't know when to stop, okay? So you can turn it around to be a positive EV game if you're just smart in how you play and you know when to get up and walk away, okay? All right, and last one. Hendrick says, as soon as you said probability of 85% wins for the casino and a fat chance for the player, that sounds about right. All right, so some clarification on this one, and this is back to the how slot machines work video. We put up a probability chart for Double Diamond Deluxe, and in those probabilities it said that you have an 85% chance that when you spin on a Double Diamond Deluxe machine that it will be a loss, okay? That does not mean that the casino is earning 85% of your money, because the other 15% is divided up into a lot of different credit wins, ranging from 1 credit all the way up to 800 credits, okay? So that is why it's not true. The only way this would be true is if you either lost 1 credit or won 1 credit. And then this statement would be absolutely true. But that's not how it is. You're going to lose 85% of the time, but if you do win, you could win a big multiplier of what your bet size is. Okay, so it's just heavily weighted towards the lower. But if you do end up getting that bigger hit, like the 3 double diamonds, for example, that's an 800 to 1 pay, and so you can kind of see how that evens out. All right, so I hope you guys appreciated this. If you do like this, just kind of answering some questions, additional questions, we're trying to answer every single comment. We read every single one of them, I promise. The good and the bad, the ugly, we read them all, because we want to see what you guys are thinking out there. It gives us some direction on how we need to tackle things next. So if you do like this kind of stuff, let us know in the comments and we'll keep doing it. And I hope you learned something today. And as always, gamble smart, gamble safe. We'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.